Good afternoon. Welcome to Think About It Using Common Sense. There's so much been going on this week, especially back to Donald Trump again and the Attorney General in New York is suing Trump and his family. But I don't want to talk about that. That's all we've been hearing on the news for the last 2 or 3 days. And outside tonight, I want to talk about relationships. And when I decided that I was going to talk about relationships, I opened one of my books, and the first sentence, and I'm going to read it to you. It said, "The seeds of wisdom cannot sprout and grow in airless space." And I felt, or I feel as though, excuse me, that is a great sentence to start this off with talking about relationships, because a relationship cannot start or it cannot work in airless space, meaning that there has to be something. There has to be something in this relationship between two people that's going to hold them together, that they can share, they can see a little bit, or uh, I guess I can use that word, see a little bit of each other in the other, in one another. Um, I find that, or I read recently, that 65% of marriages in divorce, uh, relationships, when people enter into these relationships, they enter into them based on friendship, love, and what they have in common. But it seems that too many, too many relationships and marriages end in divorce, separation, end in violence. It end in, instead of uh, a lifelong friendship, it gets to the point where people hate one another. And it started out of love, supposedly. So tonight, I'd like to talk about some of the reasons, reasons why uh, relationships, marriages have so much trouble, and that they seem to be on a downward spiral, because it's obvious that something is wrong when two people meet or establish a physical or mental bond between one another, and yet it it ends in such negativity and violence, and in some cases even death. So let's break it down a little bit. What are some of the problems that uh, when you meet someone, you meet someone, and you look at each other, you decide in your mind, oh, that is it, she is it, he is it, and you start a relationship. And what's the zeal behind this relationship? What is it? So okay, you meet out, you start talking to one another, and you find out that you have things in common, or you like this about that person, or that, and it grows from there. But yet, what is the essence of that growth? Is it that you like the way a person looks? Uh, uh, do you like this person for what this person has materially, or do you like how this person thinks? Are you attracted to this person because of his or her wealth? So I think all these things need to come into into the picture here, is to say, well, what's going on? Why do I like this person? That's a question. Why do I like him? Do you step outside that picture and say, why do I like him? Or is it the fact that you have you like to party together? You might like to smoke weed together or whatever together. That could be something that could bring uh, a relationship to fruition or begin to start a relationship. Is it that this person um, make you feel yourself, or open the door to you becoming yourself, that you feel free around this person? So these are some of the things that could begin to start him or her on the way to a relationship. So now, what's going to keep this relationship going? Um, are you being open with this person? You when this person uh, asks you questions about yourself and you talking about yourself, are you being honest and open with yourself, or are you listening to the opposite or to the other person and seeing what this person, if they're being open and forthcoming with their experiences and with themselves, with knowledge of themselves, and is that person listening to what they're saying, and realizing that if this person is opening up like that, well, then maybe if I can not necessarily be that way, but sometimes people enter into relationships and they're not honest. So if you enter into a relationship and you're not being honest, then I think that's um, that's a recipe for failure. And at this other at the on the flip side of this, when you enter into a relationship, what are your expectations? Are you uh, wanting someone that you want to uh, be what you want them to be, instead of accepting this person for who they are? You see, so sometimes when people enter into a relationship with the mindset of changing someone, that can also be a recipe for failure. So in other words, people have to be honest and open with themselves, and with especially with their mate, or whoever if they see themselves with someone that they would like to have a relationship with. I think you need to be honest and open and forthcoming. And when people enter into relationships, oh, you just can't. Uh, I think I think it's a bit off the chart to think you can come into meet someone and just wipe out their past as if no one had a past. He or she did not have a past or have been in a relationship before or have friends. So that's where I think being open and trust comes into the relationship. If you can't have trust, then the relationship is done from the beginning. And I think what I'm laying out here is the cause of so many failures in relationships. And it's a shame as though it seems like you can be in a relationship and you can have male or female friends. And I don't understand why there's people that feel as though if you're in a relationship, there's no or prior, there's no prior friendships, relationships. And I think that's a terrible way of thinking. If you can't trust someone and can't trust or believe that him or her can have relationships, friendships before you, then you're destined to have problems. You're destined to fail. That's why it is so important to be upfront, honest, open with one another. And you also have to have, um, I think you have to have uh, interest. You have to have interest more than just one thing. I think in too many relationships, I think it's just about sex, having fun, making someone laugh. That's okay periodically, but there's more to uh, a relationship than just one or two things. I think it takes more than one or two things to hold a relationship together. Spirituality. If you're spiritual, if you have that in common, if you're an atheist, if you have that in common, whatever you believe, you need to have those things in common. And you just can't build a relationship around one or two things. And then again, you can, but if you do that, then something is missing somewhere. So if there's something important in your life that's missing, if you don't talk it out, if you don't uh, get to the point that you can find out where you can get that in your relationship, then it's common sense you're going to seek elsewhere for it if you can't work it out. But you need to talk about these things. You need to talk about these things. And I find that spirituality, your beliefs, is really the to me is the glue that really binds and holds a relationship together. Because temptation, temptation is all around you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. It's just like in the military, for an example. You have women in the military. Men and women attract is a natural attraction. Men step out of line. It's no need just because a woman is in the military. I'm not saying that men should just go and treat and say anything they want to say to these women. No, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. But at the same time, don't think you're gonna have women in the military around men and men not make an effort to talk or be with these women. On the workplace, in the workplace. Same scenario. Absolutely not. Women should be able to come to work, vice versa now. Because women hit on men just like men hit on women. But at the same time, woman's married, have children, men married, have children, yet they go to work every day in a mixed environment. So, not saying that it has to happen, but guess what? It does happen. It does. Cheating, it happens. So, and when it does happen, people act, oh, no, no, this should not happen. These men, they're not, and women, I mean, hey, that's nature. That's nature at work. Some people, they can be just go out and just love hanging out with that person or on the job and have a drink. Doesn't necessarily mean every time a man and woman is together, it got to be about getting intimate. No, no, no. See, people have a lot of thinking to do. I think we live in a world now where everything, when you turn on the television or this, you have women, everybody's being married 5 or 6 times, 4 or 5 times. The brothers, the sleeping with the wives, all this kind of stuff is going on. So people pick up on that as if to say, hey, you know what, these young kids, teenagers watching that, hey, you know what, that's okay. And it might be, but there's consequences. There's consequences for your actions. Consequences. You play in fire, you get burned. With all these different types of venereal diseases, sexual transmitted diseases, kids having babies, people having uh, um, women married having other men's babies. I am I'm a consultant. I'm a life consultant, and I had I counseled a couple a few months ago, and the problem was, the man did not appreciate his wife, wonderful wife, had a family, stayed home, didn't appreciate her. She found love elsewhere, wound up having another man's baby. You see, so this is the outcome. This is one of the outcomes that you take when you play around outside the relationship, or you play around, period. And then it seems also that people forget, it seems as though the best times of a relationship is when you're having fun. It's when you're going out, you're at dinner, you're just enjoying one another, you may go to the movies, or you're just hanging out. Those are the best times. But as soon as sex come into the picture, everything changes. Everything. And I'm not saying necessarily this is how it is in all cases, but this is how it is because guess what? When it comes down to it, ladies, all you have to give is yourself. That's all. That's the most valuable thing, most important thing you have to give is yourself. That's why once you do that, everything changed because now the man has gotten all you have to give. So now he may feel as though, well, guess what? Hey, I can change now a little bit. I don't have to do all this anymore. But it shouldn't be like that. But if you put that out there like that, then that's how it's going to be. You need to build a relationship, build a foundation, and something as valuable as yourself. You don't just put that out there like that. I would think not, because you see the changes that it do, the problems that it creates. And we have to learn to accept people and learn to accept people for who and what they are. And people also have to be honest and upfront. What gives people the right to say, oh, well, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Now, all that stuff is established, man. You can't, uh, people are individuals. You enter into a relationship as an individual. And when you start doing all this stuff and this and that, things begin to change. It's not the same anymore. And then if you in a relationship and if you didn't plan to have children, and you have a child, now child, now the child is going to reap the wouldn't necessarily call it benefits, but he's going to reap whatever it is that comes out of the relationship with you having an unplanned pregnancy. And so are you. You're a teenager, depending on your age, just getting out of school, if you finish school, or if you have your career in front of you. Relationships is something you don't have to just jump into. Friends, sure, sure, but value yourselves. Plan, plan your future. Plan your future. Put things in its proper perspective. That also will help lasting relationships. The relationship that I was telling you about that I counseled, uh, the young lady was she was pregnant, I think 16 or 17 years old. So she had no life. She knew nothing about being a teenager. This is something needs to be thought about. This is not a this is not a joke. And I think people, period, not just teenagers or just relationships, but people that's in a relationship with life, not just with another person, but with life needs to step out of this picture and see exactly what's going on, what's happening in the world, where is the world going, what is the future going to look like, what part will I or am I going to play in the future, what is required of me to be able to survive in the future, what do I want out of the future, And what am I willing to put into the future to get out of it what it is that I want? You just see these mistakes. One mistake can turn your whole life around just because you want a feeling. Think about it. And the same thing with girls, the same thing with guys. You know you're trying to make a life for yourself, a future for yourself, and I mean you starting off with a family. You're starting off with a girlfriend, boyfriend, and you're teenagers, and you're getting involved in serious relationships. At that young age, they're not going to let most relationships do not last because you have sidestepping a very important part of your life. You're sidestepping a defining part of your life. Could very well be there. And it's important. Very important to take time out and stop rushing into these things. And that's the reason why I think that a lot of relationships, a lot of marriages fail, relationships don't work, a lot of children suffer because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And this is what the when we see things like this happening around us, this is the time for us to take time to step outside of this picture and look at situations and wonder why is this happening? Do I want that to happen to me? No. Well, then guess what? I need to find out what's the problem. I need to ask questions. I need to do some reading because if you do what they did, the same thing is going to happen to you. This is very important. And I mean friendship. It's important, man. It's important to have friends. We can't live in this world alone. If you and that's another thing. You just can't make well you can, but I mean it's not good. It's not good to make one person your all. It's not good. You need to be able to you together, but at the same time you can be apart. Doesn't mean you don't love one another. Doesn't mean you don't want to share anything with one another. But it's good. It's good to have friends. And people need to understand this and think. Think before you do things. Talk things out. If you can't talk things out in a relationship, then that's a red flag. Something is wrong in the relationship. Something is wrong. And these things are very important. And I just felt like um, there's a need. There's a need that for people, not just in relationships with one another, a relationship with life. There's a need for us to realize this is not a joke. There are consequences for everything that we do and for things that we do not do when we know we should have did something. And this is a serious problem. I mean, no matter how people can think, you can believe whatever you want to believe. That is the good thing of this country. You can believe whatever you want to believe. You know, they say you can have freedom of speech. Well, you got freedom of speech to a point. Okay, let's be realistic now. Let's not lose sight of everything. You get out here and say the wrong thing. There are consequences to some of the things that you can say based on what you say and who you say it to. You understand? So it's not totally freedom of speech, but that's enough that you can work on things here in this country and get things and build things here in this country. But you have to stop and think about these things. Think about what's happening. Where are we headed? Think about we living in a world, and here we are in 2020. We're here talking about racism, guns, and killing one another, fighting, and taking books out of libraries, and women not having their rights to make decisions about their bodies, and people talking about uh, a democracy that has been in place that provided them their wealth, but yet when it comes to them not being able to or losing, all of a sudden that system there is no good. People, people, this is America. And once we lose it, you can't go back and get it. You can't go back and get it. And we need to clean it up. We need to clean it up physically, spiritually, morally, politically. We need to clean up America. This is all we got. You see what the weather's like. You see the climate. You got a few people going into outer space. They might have some apartments and condos in outer space. But how many of us going out there? Go in the supermarket. See what the supermarkets are like. I went in I went in Walmart today, and the shelves in Walmart, half of Walmart was empty. You know, we better learn to conserve. Better realize there's a shortage. You don't have to go out buying up everything. But guess what? People with the rate of obesity in this country, people have been overeating for a very long time. Cut back. Cut back. You don't need to eat 3 square meals a day. Who told you that? The people that's selling food can tell you that. They want you to buy it. You don't need it. You don't need it. It's a cycle that excuse me, it's a cycle that people going to have to take the time, step out, and say, hey, look, you know what? What can I do to make things better? What can we do to make things better? Not as this color or that color, but as a people. As a people. The floods, when it starts flooding, the water, sea level rises. It's not going to pick and choose what color you are to determine who am I going to rain on. Or the hurricane say, well, what color are you before I come through? I'm going to destroy this over here. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. But together, and we don't have a lot of time to sit around and think about this. Really don't. People can sit around and not talk about it, pretend it doesn't happen, but it's happening. Open your eyes. It's happening. Sometimes you know, I uh, I read the book of Revelation sometimes, just to see. I'm not just, your mind should not be one track. And there's truth everywhere you turn if you can look and see it, you know. But I mean, when you see things, it's amazing. It's amazing uh, what's happening when you see. I mean, that incident happened with Brett Favre. That was disgusting. Brett Favre no, he did not have to do that. This is my point. He did not have to do that. He could have paid for it, wrote it off, got a tax deduction on it. But my thing is, why did he do that? Why are those people taking all that money from people that are starving? He's not the only one. Why? That blows my mind. I mean, all the inside trading and stuff going on. Well, look what happened back when I think Obama gave uh, Wall Street all them billions and billions of dollars. You know, if that's not welfare, I don't know what is. All those bailouts. You know, are we helping? We help all these countries. We helping Ukraine. Taxpayers' money. We all are doing that. You know, people should not even be like that in this country. There's no way in the world city should be that poor here in America. One man has over have over $1 trillion. You know what I'm saying? It's unreal. It's like it's like we have our heads just buried in the sand. And at the same time, what's so what's so sad about this whole thing? You know, if that's all a person is living for, just to occupy themselves until they die, that's sad. You have nothing. If that's all you have to live for is a party and just to have a good time and have a cup of coffee on a multi-million-dollar yacht or something. What is that? It's all just a feeling that's going it's going away. It's more. It's so much more to it. And the thing about it is, whether people believe it or not, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. There is justice for everything that we do, for every thought that we think, every action that we take. There's justice for that. How can it not be? If you just think about it, just think about it. Everything on this planet, everything on this planet comes from that we make comes from within our minds. Is a manifestation of a thought. And these things are physically. So spiritually, when this physical body, even this physical body that we're in, and as people may disagree, but that's fine. But this physical body that we're in is what the life within us has manifested, been adapted to the environment so we can live to sustain the life consciousness within us. That's all this body is about in this physical environment. That's all. So when this physical body ceases to exist, that means you no longer have this physical earth or this environment. So the physical body is gone, but the consciousness is still there. So what happens? I go back to what I said once again. What happens is the consciousness is like it's in like a glass box, trying to figure out why it cannot get in contact with the physical world outside. Why no one's there? Why no one's listening? Why no one's seeing? Because he had lost that connection. The physical body was the connection. Do you understand? This is a and everybody's going to go through this. You might even if people in outer space they learn how to live for 5,000 years. But when it comes to 5,001, you got to go there. It's no escape. No escape. And this is what people don't realize. They act like if they only knew. That's why I could. I wrote something that said if people only knew that death is not the ending but the beginning, their whole life would change. Everything on this planet would change. Every human on this planet would change if they actually believed that. And we wouldn't be living like we are. Because people are living like there's no tomorrow. They want it all. Got so much money they never even know what to do with, but they want more, more, more. It's not the answer. Not the answer. You know, we be focusing on the outside when we need to be focusing on the inside. And I think if we do that, I know if we do that, things will change overnight. There's no reason in the world with all the wealth in this world for people to be living like that. You know, if people say, oh, okay, but still it doesn't make it right. It's your opinion. It's your opinion. That's another topic for another day. Where do all these opinions come from when people haven't did anything? But don't you know we're being used, we're being misdirected. And we're going to be the ones that left out here fighting, grubbing for bread, fresh, clean drinking water. Until we do something, we start doing something about it. You know. So anyway, for the relationships is important, and people just need to get a grip. We need to get a grip on everything, everything. Because this world and life, this life is the most valuable thing on the planet. Everything that has value is valued around the sustainability of life itself. And that's the reality of it. So anyway, people, thank you all so much, and thank you for listening to me vent. But you know, you got to do something. Have a great evening.